Here we are on a rather wet Wednesday workshop. Well, I mean, we're dry now. I guess that's the beauty of this is you don't have to get in your car and travel anywhere. We're just able to do it. And as long as we don't have a power cut because of all the water or something, then we're all good. So today I want to explore, look at something, and I've got a nice guided hypnotic meditation-y. I never know what to call them nowadays because they blur and mingle. Um, but it's a concept, and some of you may already be familiar with it, and a thought, an idea. Um, but I think it's pretty well what underpins almost everything that I do as far as change work and hypnosis and all that. And that is the idea of the self-actualizing tendency. Ooh, yes, I know. Sounds grand, doesn't it? And I was first introduced this by, you can't see the pictures up there, but he's up there, Carl Rogers, marvelous American psychologist, psychotherapist. And he came about the idea when he went down into his basement, and in the corner against the wall on a small table was a bag of potatoes. And above that was this very small little window, almost more like air vent type thing, but there was a bit of light coming through it, just a little bit of light. Uh, and even though the circumstances that these potatoes were in weren't great, they didn't have soil, they had very little light and water, and yet when he came down, they had still managed to put out shoots and were still reaching for that bit of light. And because of the not great situation they were in, they'd all grown a bit twisted and crooked, and rather than if they'd been in soil and gone la la la. Um, but from that moment, he developed the idea of the self-actualizing tendency or self-actualization, which is, I guess, in some ways, is the Western equivalent of self-realization. Um, the basic tendency, the principle is this, that in any situation, no matter what the influence is, as life will always strive its best to grow and become and fulfill its potential. Hence, the potatoes then. And when we relate that to people, despite the challenges, the obstacles, the things we face in our lives, there is something within us that strives to want to be the best that we can be and to grow into everything that we can be. And I mean, you could take that as far as people kind of wanting to be successful, wanting to be the best in their jobs. But I mean, if you've grown up in on a dodgy housing estate where everybody and their uncle is some sort of, I'm stereotyping terribly here, uh, but where everybody and their uncle kind of either shoplifts, robs houses, or whatever else, they usually make a kind of sitcom about it, don't they? Um, and so you've been brought up in an environment where criminality and stealing and stuff like that is the norm. We might look at it and go, well, that's not a healthy environment for someone to grow up in. But there's still that tendency that if that's the way you go, if that's how you're influenced to go, you still want to be the very best you can at it. I'd imagine actually more so, because if you're not very good, you get caught quicker. But the self-actualizing tendency is that thing within us that makes us want to grow. And with Carl Rogers, it was that if you can create those ideal situation through your relationship in a counseling perspective, where he identified certain criteria that allow us as human beings to fulfill that potential more. If you can create that space, then people can start exploring who they are, where they are, what they're about, and how they move forward. And he identified a few things. Uh, Unconditional positive regard, as he called it, very clinical sounding. Basically, um, unconditional love is what that is. Just accepting, being accepted for who you are, um, was one of the key things. And for me, it's underpinned all that I do. And like today, we've been talking to lots and lots and lots and lots of children about where they want to go and where they want to be. And some are very, I know what I want to do, I want to go. Most, I would say, haven't got a clue. But it's about, again, that self-actualizing tendency is about creating that moment where they can start to see the light, to get that clarity. And there's no wonder why when we look through all the spiritual and religious texts that sight and seeing and light are so often key aspects of that. And if you become a self-actualized person, somebody who's gone through that process of self-actualizing, which I've yet to ever meet anybody that's completely done that. It's an ongoing process. Um, but there are certain characteristics, certain ways of being. Things like you do a job, and rather than needing somebody else to say, well done, you just know you did a good job. So you don't need that external verification, that external what's the word I'm after? Tired today. Authentication, because you know that you're enough. You know that you're enough. You know that what you do, and you tend to, if you're self-actualized, be able to deal with situations from a grounded and centered place rather than necessarily acting over emotionally or throwing builders out like I did today. And so what I thought would be nice to do today is a hypnotic meditation, hypnosis session. Like I say, I'm not the lines are so blurred now. I'm never sure quite what I'm whether I'm using meditation or hypnosis. But to go through a journey, a guided thing to help you to in and to bring in the ideas of being your own light, being that self-actualized person who doesn't depend on others to let you know you're okay. Because one of the biggest things ever, we think we've done a good job at something, and someone goes, "Oh, it's all right," and we're disappointed. We get upset because, you know, we think we've done a good job, but might not have, they might have been distracted. They might think you've done a great job, but if they don't tell you, we tend to get a little bit deflated. Um, and so this is about being your own light, not depending on others for you to feel good. The self-actualized person doesn't, it's great to have the company of others, but you don't need those others to feel good being you. And I think if we could all feel good being us without having to rely on other people, then that puts us in a good place. And that's all I want to say about it on the talking side of it, because I want us to get straight into the hypnotic part of it. Um, I will I'll reference a couple of books. I'll post them up in the on the Facebook page. Actually, might as well put them there. Um, with more about self-actualization to have a look at. So have a stretch, have a fidget. Um, Throughout this, and I appreciate everyone that's here. You've heard me say this kind of thing over and over again, but there might be somebody who's listening this the first time who's just joined up. Um, Throughout this, I may be asking you to picture and imagine stuff. Don't worry if you're not seeing it like a movie. I'm just asking you to think about it however you think about it. Um, if I asked you to think of a favorite day away or a favorite holiday, and just imagine yourself doing some of the things you were doing. I'm sure you can do that. I'm sure you can do that. And for some of you, you're seeing it, you'd see it like you're there. It'd be like, oh yeah, I can picture the beach. For others of you, there's just the idea of it, the memory of it, the feeling of it. However you think of things, that's what we're asking you to do. And just follow the instructions to the best of your ability to really get the most out of this. So have a fidget, have a stretch, sitting comfortably. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep breaths together. Now, I don't know if you'll choose to relax and focus within on the first breath, whether you'll choose to relax and focus within on the second breath, or whether you'll wait and choose to relax and focus in on the third breath. But whenever it is you choose to relax and focus within, at that point, you just allow your eyes to close and really get the most out of this today. Let's take a deep breath in Hold it and breathe out. Breathing in, hold it, breathing out, breathing in, hold it and breathe out. And return to your natural breath. That gentle rise and fall, your own rhythm, your own tide. Tell yourself you're going to relax, going to focus within for a while. Outside noises will not disturb you. Everyday thoughts will not distract you. All just helps you relax. And it's good to relax. The more you relax, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the more you can relax now with every moment, with every breath, just allowing yourself to begin to unwind, to let go. And I wonder, as you're sat there listening to what I'm saying, breathing, just how deeply you can relax with every word, with every breath, with every moment. In fact, I want you to imagine, pretend that you can double that level of relaxation, that level of inner focus. Just imagine what that would be like if you were somebody that every time you chose to now can double that level of relaxation. And now imagining you're not imagining, and just allow that sense of relaxation to double and double, and to continue to relax as I count down from 10 to 1. 10 is where you are now. 1 can be just beautifully connected to that still place within, just that pause between the breath, that moment of silence between a thought. As we begin to relax deeper and allow ourselves to just let go, and maybe you can drift a while, because you don't have to consciously listen to what I'm saying, but your unconscious mind can take it all on board as you let go. From 10, relaxing, unwinding. 9, letting go, drifting down through time and space. 8, with every breath you take, every word that I speak, it can start to become automatic now. Just relax. From 8 to 7, just allowing that sense of relaxation, of letting go, intensifying that sense of calm and relaxation. Down to 6, breathing in, peace, breathing out any worries or stresses. Down to 5, and 5 is that midway point. And if you think of a seesaw, it can swing both ways. One side goes up, the other comes down, and life can be a little bit like that. But as you move to the center of that seesaw, there's that point on which it all turns. And at that point, all is calm and all is still. And I want you to become aware of that place within you, wherever that is for you, that now feels most calm and most still. And as you begin to notice that now, allow that feeling to spin and flow within you, to move within you. 4, With every breath you take, every word I speak, it's automatic now. You do not have to think about this. Just relax. From 4 to 3, just drifting, floating, easing your way down into a place of stillness and peace. From 3 to 1, relaxing deeper and deeper and deeper. And imagine the zero is like a doorway. Imagine zero like a doorway. And we might as well take that extra step and go all the way within as that doorway, I don't know what it looks like for you, gets closer and closer. And at a certain point, maybe just as you step towards it or just as you go through it, you can relax. Now, doubling that depth again. And while you sit there and continue to relax, staring or thinking of a particular spot on the back of your eyelids, a certain point, noticing how the color of the light on your eyes moves around that place. And if you try to pin that down, it just subtly shifts and changes. Just following those colors on the eyelids and beginning to notice that feeling of letting the mind relax so that you can drift down, comfortable, into a deeply comfortable state of mind where you can listen comfortably without having to make any effort or do anything at all. I can be reminded of a time many years ago when, as a student, I first walked past an office door. It was covered in comics and pictures, short articles and essays, bumper stickers, postcards that the lecturer inside had taped up there, posting just small pieces of thought for all to think about briefly and to consider adding to their own collections of understandings and memories. But looking back, one of them stood out, jumped out at a passerby, shouting at them in bold purple letters, "Be your own light." Be your own light, it said. Do not depend on others. As if to emphasize that all of these postings were insights of others and might not light the way towards one's own illumination, which instantly raised the question of where to find that light to light your own way, and how to use that light to light the way along those paths to some unknown end that actually is a beginning, and how to avoid getting lost along the way, how to become your own light. Perhaps like the very bright light of a special spotlight that comes with its own warning, to not look at it directly or touch the bulb whilst it's lit, because it's so hot, so bright. A light that can send a beam of light across 2-mile wide lake and light up houses on the opposite shore, which is a very bright light indeed. But if you cannot look at it without injuring yourself, how safe can it be, and how useful for reading the wisdom of ages while sitting comfortably in a chair just there? So you may want to consider finding something softer. If you're going to be your own light, while not depending on others to find your way, you may want to use something gently illuminating, like a candle perhaps, which at first might seem quite dim and not adequate at all until you imagine one inside your mind. Just imagine that there, a candle inside your mind. And remember just staring at that flame in the quiet darkness, a small candle flame, a yellow flickering light that we sometimes use to see by when the electricity goes out. A light that seemed very dim at first compared to a bright light bulb, but gets brighter over time as we adjust to it. Before you know it, it soon lights up an entire room, fills up all the corners of every space inside. The way that light inside you, that light that you become when you use your imagination, can fill your mind as well and illuminate every corner. Just enough to see, just enough to explore all the hidden understandings and the long forgotten truths stored away deep down inside, away from the light of day, because a candle in the mind does not light up things with a sudden blinding brilliance like a match in a pitch black room, an instant blaze of light with a sizzle of sound. That makes us turn away at first until it settles down and we see again to use that match to light a candle or a flare, a soft light or a bright one. They both light up the night, the dark spaces in the mind. While you drift into the center and find that one light that belongs to you. Because a becoming light that makes you look good is different from a becoming a light that makes you feel good. And seeing that light in the back of the mind that at first may seem very far away is just the first step to feeling that light getting closer and closer, becoming larger and larger, so close you can touch it. Feel the heat of it, the energy of it lighting up your skin, lighting up your muscles, lighting up everything inside and lighting up the room as well, filling all those spaces out there. A light so large you can hear it, can hear the orchestral roar of it with a sound so loud that it vibrates everything, and you can feel it. The most beautiful sound of all vibrating in your chest, where you can feel speakers vibrate with a deep rumbling roar, vibrating every fiber of you, a heavenly choir, a heavenly roar, sending that sound right through you and out into everything. Until that light becomes so bright, so unbearably beautifully bright, and the sound becomes so intense, so intensely, emotionally amazing, that the mind may keep trying to turn away from it all and find it difficult to stay right there where it has been hard to be before. A familiar place you've been to before, but a scary place just to fall into, a place where you're free to be, a place to be your own light, a place to be light, a place to feel light, lighter than air at times, freer than light at times, free to light up the sky at times, and free now to take your own time to become lighter than light, brighter than bright, and just be a flame that lights up your mind and shows you things that might otherwise have gone overlooked. How things can seem to be one thing, turn out to be something else entirely. The way two and two can be four, but before you know it, two can become three. Because baby makes three, and you were once a mere babe in the woods before it all separated out into different things. And someone invented ideas about inside and out, up and down, good and bad, each defined by the other, each existing only because of the other. Neither one really there at all, not really anywhere at all. Nowhere is there an up or a down, except our thinking makes it so. And so as you explore your thinking and light your own path, your mind can discover how it feels to light up. All those things that you usually ignore, and find out how it feels to explore those things that we all take for granted, without stopping to wonder where all of this stuff came from. And what would it be like to just clean the mind out? Just to empty it all out and start over from scratch. A blank slate. No ideas but your own. No myths to ignore. No superstitions to disprove. No fantasies to escape. No ignorance to overlook. No words for anything. Nothing to believe unless you make it so. And so you can just know whatever you know, and let go of all the rest. And maybe experience being your own light, lighting your own way. Finding the truth for you right now. That's right. Take your time. Allow things to settle out. the way that water clears when you just let it sit, and then the light can shine through it, can get through it to you, being your own light. Even as you begin to remember places you have walked and seen things posted on office doors, things to think about, ideas to consider, quotations from famous people, notations about the speed of light, and jokes at their own expenses, things to consider, while the mind drifts back and forth now for a while, back to this place, and then back wondering where it's been and what it learned from itself. And then back again here now towards the surface of wakefulness, more and more fully awake and alert, and then back down again. Again, a little bit wondering what it all means. And back upwards again, knowing exactly what it means on the one hand, with no idea what it means on the other. Even as you continue to drift upwards, feeling rested and refreshed, some things remaining behind, others remembered clearly in the light of day, like notes posted on office doors, easily seen and understood as you drift up more completely now, upwards enough to begin to allow your eyes to start to feel like they want to open, to find yourself become more aware of the room about you, the tips of the toes, your fingers, your arms, becoming more aware of this time and this place. And when you're ready to make the most of the rest of the week, to connect with your own light and take that out into the world, then and only then you can open your eyes, be here, be now, feeling good, refreshed, being your own light. And then when you're fully here, have a fidget, have a stretch. The stretch bit's always good.